be honest, I didn't really like Mosquitohead.
You did
It
it.
just didn't have a ring off the tongue.
Or what do you see the legacy of it to be, and what do you want it to be?
I don't think it matters what I want it to be. To be honest, this is the first time I've been out in public.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
You've been in hiding since the 80s?
I've been hiding. Okay, my name is Robert. I am from Mosquitohead.
Rob from Mosquitohead, the Mosquitohead. You have that right. And so let's just start there. Explain the name Mosquitohead and the history behind that.
We used to be Mosquito, but there was another company called Mosquito that had been around for about decades.
Yeah.
And they just suggested to us we have to change our name.
So
we had to, and we've been around long enough that we had, name recognition, so we didn't want to change it completely.
Right. So it was a polite suggestion.
Yeah.
And then was there a reason that it became Mosquitohead? It was
we were just looking for words to put before or after.
Yeah.
And that was it. And to be honest, I didn't really like Mosquitohead.
You did it.
It just didn't have a ring off the tongue, so it stuck after a while, but
Absolutely. I mean, now it seems iconic.
it sounds clunky at the time.
I can feel that. I can understand that.
Yeah.
What was your role within Mosquitohead?
Originally, there was two of us. Me and Paul were partners.
Yeah.
So we both equal design, both did things together. Yeah. So we kind of competed on design work, which is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which pushed us further. Yeah. So
were there any favorite designs that you had and any favorite designs that Paul had?
I would say that Paul's design was Jimi Hendrix came out really, that was a beautiful one.
And so a lot of your graphics are, you're layering multiple screens and multiple graphics. Would each tee be all of Paul's graphics or all of Rob's graphics, or would you kind of mix and match?
Generally, we did our own tees.
Yeah.
So, but we influenced each other. And, we'd bounce around okay, we've got to do a shirt for a given subject matter, and we'd either flip a coin or argue as to who got to do it.
That's cool.
Or, if someone was more of a fan, they would do it.
And so explain that process too. I'm very interested to hear kind of the selection process or how you would get connected with different artists.
It was kind of random. Well, it's like we were heavily into trash culture and counterculture.
Yeah.
So, anything that pissed people off was good. And, we liked rock artists who kind of were more edgy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do
you now have a favorite shirt, or do you see one as being a standout or more iconic than any other?
I would say the Jimi Hendrix and the David Bowie are my favorites.
Unbelievable.
Those are,
top tier.
And there's other things there's a Howling Wolf one,
which
is really rare.
Wow. I don't know if I've even seen that one.
Yeah, that one's, I had a license for a company that had a lot of blues artists. So we did a Billie Holiday, Howling Wolf, and Muddy Waters. And
wow,
so those are kind of rare because the blues stuff didn't sell too well.
Yeah, but now I'm sure a bit more, they're selling probably for more now.
Yeah, I'd say there's most probably about 100 of each of those.
So what do you think about the aftermarket and where it's at now with me? What are your feelings and thoughts on that?
It'd be easy to think, well, fuck that. They're making all this money off me.
Yeah.
But I just try not to think. I take it as a compliment.
I mean,
it's like, I can't get bitter about the money other people are making. It's
right.
just that's fine. And it's just a cool thing that, somehow I've touched history.
Made history.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like a moment in time. And to be honest, I didn't think it would last.
Wow.
Because there was a point in 92, 94, we couldn't give them away.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, it was just, the fashion completely changed. And it went to teeny tiny prints.
Yeah.
Fashion flip-flops.
For sure.
Or goes to the other extreme.
So what was the era? What was the golden era? And then what was the era and time that you guys were making them?
So golden era, we started in 86. They really took off in 87.
Yeah.
So golden era is most probably 88, 89.
Yeah. How many were
first we were it was the first time we'd made money. Yeah. We'd been broke for years. We were getting a lot of attention. That was cool.
Yeah.
And, we felt like we were doing good work.
How many were you making within that? How many shirts a month? different shirts, and then of each SKU, how many were you producing quantity-wise?
Usually each SKU, we would start with 80.
80. Oh,
And
so not very
we
many.
could have stock.
Yeah.
And if people ordered them, they would get them out fast.
Yeah.
Rather than having to print to order.
Yeah.
And we would just do them in groups of 80.
And then what was the ordering process like in those days?
We did trade shows, so people would mainly order from that and phones, and I basically hoof it to stores.
Did you have any like catalog sales at all?
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I would love. Did you have any catalogs still that you guys?
I
were
have
listening?
about 4, and that's about it. But then someone told me those are collectible too.
I was just gonna say I would almost be more interested in the catalogs. I love advertisements and catalogs.
And we did updates 3 times a year on those.
Cool. Very cool.
Sometimes it'd be a different catalog. Sometimes it would just be an insert.
Wow.
And they weren't that big. They were like 4-page kind of thing.
For sure. Do you know off the top of your head how many Mosquitohead pieces were produced, different SKUs throughout the years?
No idea.
There's ballpark, do you think?
Few hundred?
Yeah.
Or, because I've seen some today that I completely forgot.
That's cool.
People show me on their phone.
That's cool.
If they'd have sent me a picture, I'd have said, no, that's not mine. And then they show me, Mosquitohead tag.
That's cool. Do you think there's anyone that has them all? Have you heard of anyone who has the entire collection?
Someone in Thailand has a lot.
Really?
So I know that, he's one of the biggest collectors.
You haven't seen, you haven't been to visit him or anything of that matter? No.
So that may be something I should do.
Are you at all trying to recover some of these? Are you buying them from in the aftermarket at all, or is just certain ones?
I guess I should. I actually don't have any.
No way.
Yeah, because as I said, I couldn't give them away, and then I changed style. So, I went on to, new designs. I did Glamhead and another line, United Rockers. So, that just didn't seem significant, hard as it might seem.
Wow. I feel like we need to get you some of these.
Yeah,
I feel like you
deserve
deserve this. Is crazy.
Give me your address, I'm going to send you one. It's so sad that you don't have it.
Exactly. That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
What if you were to buy one now? If you were like, the first one I need, would it be the Jimi Hendrix? Would it be the Bowie? Or?
It maybe be Jimi Hendrix. I think Bowie, because my partner designed Jimi Hendrix, and even though it's a great shirt, I'd like to have something that I designed.
Absolutely.
Which is the Bowie one.
Absolutely.
So,
wow, incredible.
Jimi Hendrix is most probably a nicer shirt, but
do you have
I prefer David Bowie too?
As do I.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for younger or aspiring artists or screen printers?
The thing is, we didn't worry about what we didn't know. So our lack of talent, we just worked around it. That's the bleached shirts. And, it's just go for it.
Limitations just lead to new creativity. You just have to find new outlets and ways around your limitations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And all of anytime once we started getting employees, all of them were creative and musicians.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped just the psychology of the place.
How many employees did you guys end up having at the height of it?
The height of it was 24.
Wow.
After that, especially when the bleach stuff stopped, I kind of contracted a lot of work out.
Yeah.
And, it's just I didn't like dealing with a lot of employees. So I got it down to about 12.
What was the process like? Were you bleaching tees? Did you have different people that would do different parts of the process?
Yeah. So we had about a group of 4 people bleaching.
Yeah.
And then maybe about 8 people printing.
Yeah, very cool.
And they're all hand printed. They're not machine printed. So.
Amazing. What, like water-based ink?
All water-based
All
ink.
water-based
Yeah.
ink.
That was what we wanted because it's just soft. A big print, you just can't do in plastisol.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like just the style lends itself a bit better to the way that water-based ink it just lays down so clean, so flat, and I think it layers a bit better.
Oh yeah. It's just nicer to work with, and it just, after you wash it, it feels great.
Absolutely.
And as well as looking good.
Have you been not recognized, but how have the guys around the vault treated you once they find out who you are?
To be honest, this is the first time I've been out in public.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty much.
You've been in hiding since the 80s?
I've been hiding not since the 80s, but since they've been collectible. Yeah.
Really?
So it's been nice. pandering my ego.
Amazing.
But,
we're great at that.
Yeah, so it's I'm honored that people think they're so great.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm humbled and honored.
Would you ever, are you still actively creating art? Are you rerunning? Would you ever think about rerunning tees? Have you thought about that?
The problem is a lot of them were licensed, and I don't have the licenses.
Yeah.
And it would just be really expensive to get those licenses right now.
You wouldn't think about doing just as bootlegs?
Not really.
Yeah.
And I do. Some of the work wasn't licensed. It was artwork,
right.
And so maybe
before you had licenses. What?
Yeah, we started off as bootleggers.
Okay, I was going to ask
because we didn't have money. We just started with like $200.
That's incredible. So, who were some of the bootleg tees, and then who noticed them?
That's hard to say.
Yeah.
I know our first license was Bob Marley.
Oh, wow.
And then we were the first licensed of Bob Marley in the U.S.
Incredible.
That was before it was Bob Marley Music, when it was through Island Records.
I feel like the Bob Marley merch that you guys have, that's what I know as well to be some of the most, I guess, coveted or iconic Mosquitohead
and it's
stuff.
most probably the most we produced.
For sure.
They were the best selling.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's cool.
Those sold to a lot of not just boutiques, but head shops and,
that
music
makes a ton of
shops.
sense.
And, yeah.
Now you're 20, 30 years removed from all of it. What do you think the legacy of it is, or what do you see the legacy of it to be, and what do you want it to be?
I don't think it matters what I want it to be. It's like out of my control at this point.
But what do you want it to be? How do you see it in your own mind? And how do you look back on it with fondness?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like those years were a lot of fun. I was young and it was wild 80s times.
Yeah.
And, I'm just glad that people are enjoying them now. I'm actually not just glad, I'm amazed. And it's just, wow.
I mean, if you look around the room, I'm sure you might have taken a walk around. There's thousands of t-shirts hanging up. And even still to this day, t-shirts from 20, 30 years ago, t-shirts from this era, 10 years ago. The Mosquitohead shirts stand out in this room, even amongst 10,000 other t-shirts. To someone, I think, that doesn't even know what they're looking at. They might be just a casual thrifter, someone who's just coming to shop for the day. I still find them being gravitated towards your visual language and Don's visual language. And it's just, so I think there is something to be said about that. I think I think you guys created something incredible.
Well, when we started, that was the whole idea. We figured we can only sell if it looks better or different than everyone else's. And a lot of at the time, a lot of licensed product was just the same.
Yeah.
Just album cover plonked on a shirt. So, we thought we're going to have to put some effort into this. We have to make it, interesting to the fans.
Absolutely. Do you think that you have in some ways influenced a new generation because I think a lot of streetwear and fashion houses are printing big and oversized graphics.
I would say we were the first people to not mass produce, but produce in a fairly biggish way large prints.
Yeah.
When we first started, we couldn't even find a carousel to fit large screens. And then, a few years later, there's belt printers, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And, the big prints are everywhere.
Within that, because that's interesting. So within that kind of time period and where it was all changing and new technology was happening, did that change the process for you guys at all?
No, we always thought, it'd be so much easier not to hand produce it. Yeah. But that was, the look that people loved.
Yeah.
If we'd have had a massive belt printer and it looked really corporate, it just wouldn't maybe have the collectability or the look or the authenticity that it has today.
Right. I don't think it would have even fit with the ethos of the design. And
even our, we weren't really corporate people.
Yeah.
In fact, quite the reverse.
For sure. Were you wearing your own stuff while you were making it?
Not really.
No?
I'm just Johnny Cash dressed in black kind of guy.
Yeah. Amazing.
I would wear maybe a small Ramones logo or Motorhead logo, but, nothing really big.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'm like, everyone's always like, I don't wear a ton of vintage all the time.
I didn't.
I like it.
When I designed it, I didn't even perceive it as a wearable. I thought of it as more like a poster.
Yeah.
That was my design
process.
process.
That's really cool. So were you framing them at all? You had them on walls? Because I know guys do now.
You know, I didn't at the time because,
Yeah.
you know, we were making so many and then
Yeah.
they stopped selling.
Yeah.
It did not have value to me.
Yeah.
It didn't sink in.
Right. I just can't get that through my head.
I remember when I threw away the
Like,
screens, I'd
yeah.
had them in storage for 2 years and not used them. I wish I'd cut out the screen part and saved those.
Absolutely.
Because those actually had color from the ink still.
Yeah. Wow.
And they look kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So
that's
that
cool.
I'm kind of a little sad about.
Yeah, some history lost there.
Yeah.
But it's almost just, it adds to the lore. It's just
Yeah.
a moment in time now. you know?
Yeah. And I'm actually worried about actually doing interviews like this actually kind of detracts from it.
You think so?
I have no idea, but I like the fact that there was a mystery around it, like who
For
the hell
sure.
who made these?
Well, maybe we'll, like the burglar, we'll blur your face out. We'll drop your voice real low.
Yeah, that would be funny. Yeah, like one of those.
Well, Rob, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Anything you want to say? Last words.
Just thank you guys. As I said, I'm amazed and humbled, and it's awesome that everyone still loves these.
I just want to say thank you, Rob. I want to give you your flowers. You, Paul, both incredible artists. Again, the shirts stand out. There's a reason that they've stood the test of time, and I appreciate the art.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.